Did you realize that you don't need to completely eliminate carbohydrates to manage your blood sugar? Actually, the quickest method to stabilize your glucose levels involves incorporating specific foods rather than cutting out whole food groups like carbs. I have witnessed this firsthand. I've helped hundreds of patients completely turn their numbers around in just a matter of days, simply by adding these nutrient-dense foods to their daily routine. And this isn't a temporary fix. They are able to maintain low blood sugar without medication for months or even years. In this video, I will demonstrate how to utilize each of these 10 foods to fully optimize your biochemistry and reverse insulin resistance at the cellular level. This will help you lower your sugars rapidly, naturally, and most importantly, sustainably. Before we dive into the first item, please do me a quick favor. If you prefer videos that explain the why behind your bodily functions, instead of just handing you a prescription, hit subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment sharing your morning fasting number from this week. I read them all, and the ages and metrics of this community genuinely influence my future content. Let's dive right in. Here is the reality that almost nobody explains during a brief 12-minute doctor's visit. Elevated blood sugar nearly always begins upstream with a crucial hormone known as insulin. Insulin acts as the key that unlocks your cells so that glucose, the sugar in your bloodstream, can exit the blood and enter the cell where it is needed for energy. When you've spent years on a blood sugar roller coaster, your cells essentially stop answering the door. Insulin keeps knocking, but the cell remains locked. We refer to this as insulin resistance. To compensate, your pancreas pumps out increasingly more insulin, yet your blood sugar continues to climb. The conventional response is a prescription that forces even more insulin into a body already overwhelmed by it. The medical system profits when you remain chronically ill, not when you heal. That is simply economics, not necessarily malice. A short office visit offers neither the time nor the financial incentive to teach you how dietary choices communicate directly with your insulin receptors. My name is Dr. Evelyn Ford, and every single one of these 10 foods performs one of 3 critical roles. It slows the influx of sugar, it reduces the inflammation that makes your cells deaf to insulin, or it reawakens the insulin receptor so your body can do the job it was built for. You don't need to consume all 10 by tomorrow. Gradually introduce them over the next few weeks and stack their benefits. Let's look at the first one. The first food on our list is fenugreek seeds. These are tiny, hard, amber-colored seeds found in the spice section of almost any supermarket for just a couple of dollars. If you overlook this because it sounds exotic, you are missing out on one of the most potent blood sugar balancing tools available, and it costs less than your daily cup of coffee. Here is how fenugreek functions internally. The seed is loaded with a soluble fiber known as galactomannan. When it mixes with the water in your stomach, it expands into a thick gel. This gel physically delays how quickly your stomach releases carbohydrates into your small intestine. A slower release means sugar gently trickles into your bloodstream rather than flooding it. Without that flood, there is no massive spike and no panic-driven insulin dump. Additionally, fenugreek contains an amino acid that encourages your pancreas to secrete insulin more effectively and assists your muscles in absorbing glucose. In my practice, I've seen fasting numbers drop within a week or 2 using this seed alone. To use it, soak 1 teaspoon of whole seeds in a glass of water overnight. Drink the water and eat the softened seeds first thing in the morning, before breakfast. If you dislike the slightly bitter flavor, grind them up and mix a half teaspoon into yogurt or sprinkle over eggs. Start with a small amount. This fiber is potent, and your digestive system needs time to adapt. Number 2 is cinnamon. You probably already have this in your pantry, but the specific type matters, and most people use the wrong one. Standard grocery store cinnamon is cassia, which contains a compound called coumarin that can stress the liver in large daily amounts. The variety you want is Ceylon cinnamon, often labeled as true cinnamon. It is milder, safer for daily consumption, and it's the exact type I recommend to my patients. Cinnamon works thanks to a group of polyphenols. These are natural plant compounds that mimic the behavior of insulin. They assist your insulin receptors in binding to glucose more effectively and prevent your stomach from emptying too rapidly after eating. This effect is significant and measurable. USDA research demonstrated that consuming less than half a teaspoon daily substantially lowered fasting glucose in adults with type 2 diabetes. Skipping this means missing an easy victory sitting right in your spice cabinet. Consume roughly a quarter to a half teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon daily. Mix it into your morning oatmeal, coffee, or a smoothie. The secret is to pair it with a carb-heavy meal, as that is exactly when you need your receptors to work harder and your digestion to slow down. Third on the list are broccoli sprouts. Pay close attention here, because this is arguably the most underutilized food mentioned in this video. I don't mean mature broccoli, I mean the tiny 3-day-old sprouts. If you ignore this distinction, you lose nearly all the benefits. Broccoli sprouts are packed with a powerful compound called sulforaphane, containing roughly 50 to 100 times more of it than a full head of mature broccoli. Sulforaphane tackles an issue none of the other foods address quite as directly. It targets your liver and calms the overnight glucose production factory. Your liver generates sugar while you sleep, and when you are insulin resistant, it produces far too much. This explains why many of you wake up with inexplicably high fasting numbers. A 2017 study from Lund University gave concentrated sulforaphane to type 2 diabetics and significantly reduced their fasting blood sugar, particularly in patients whose levels were the toughest to manage. You can cultivate them on your kitchen counter in a jar for pennies, or grab them in the produce aisle. A small handful, about a quarter cup on a salad or sandwich, is sufficient most days. Avoid cooking them thoroughly, as high heat ruins the active compound. Consume them raw or very lightly wilted. So far, the first 3 foods focus on slowing sugar absorption or waking up receptors. The next 4 involve modifying the meals you already consume. If you have friends or family struggling with their numbers, share this video with them, because this is vital information doctors rarely explain. Number 4 is the avocado. Many view it as a high-calorie fat to avoid, but that hesitation is costly. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fat, the same healthy family as olive oil, and it is incredibly blood sugar friendly. The logic is straightforward. That beneficial fat and inherent fiber slow down the digestion of your entire meal. By adding half an avocado to a plate of rice or toast, you aren't eliminating the carbs. You are hitting the brakes on how quickly they convert into blood sugar. Consequently, your glucose rises gradually instead of spiking. Monounsaturated fats are also proven to boost insulin sensitivity, allowing your cells to respond to the insulin knock much faster. In my experience, this is the simplest habit to form because it keeps you full, preventing you from grabbing a snack an hour later. Half an avocado daily is ideal. Add it to your morning eggs, mash it on whole grain toast, or mix it into a starchy salad. Wherever carbs are present, avocados softens the impact. Fifth is chia seeds. These tiny gray and black seeds deliver benefits far beyond their size. If you've ever seen chia seeds soak in liquid to form a pudding, you understand exactly how they behave in your digestive tract. Chia is an incredibly rich source of soluble fiber. Upon meeting stomach fluids, it forms the same thick gel we discussed with fenugreek. This gel coats the carbohydrates from your meal, slowing their absorption drastically. The sugar enters your system gradually, helping you bypass the spike and subsequent crash that leaves you trembling and starving an hour later. Furthermore, chia provides plant-based omega-3 fats that help soothe the underlying low-grade inflammation driving insulin resistance. Once inflammation cools, cells begin responding to insulin once again. 1 to 2 tablespoons daily is perfect. Stir them into yogurt, add them to lemon water, or blend them into a smoothie. Allow 10 minutes for them to gel before consuming, and drink ample water, as this dense fiber requires liquid to process smoothly. Number 6 is fatty fish, specifically salmon and mackerel. Unlike the previous foods, this doesn't slow down your meal. It targets the root cause, the reason your cells became deaf to insulin in the first place. Insulin resistance is largely driven by chronic inflammation. When your body remains quietly inflamed for years, it physically blocks the insulin signaling at the cellular surface. Salmon and mackerel are abundant in two omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, which are among the most potent natural anti-inflammatories available. They suppress inflammatory signals, heal cell membranes, and restore the proper function of insulin receptors. Over my 15 years in practice, patients who consume fatty fish twice weekly consistently show calmer, stabilized glucose levels and improved blood pressure. Aim for 2 palm-sized servings per week. Wild-caught salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring are fantastic choices. Bake it, grill it, or opt for canned versions if you are on a budget. Canned sardines and mackerel are remarkably cheap yet incredibly powerful additions. 7th on the list are walnuts. Among all nuts, this is my top recommendation because it simultaneously protects your blood vessel lining and manages insulin. Walnuts are packed with polyunsaturated fats and the same plant-based omega-3s found in chia. These fats enhance the function of your endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels that high blood sugar typically damages first. Simultaneously, the fat, fiber, and protein combination blunts post-meal blood sugar surges and has been proven to lower fasting insulin, which is the underlying metric showing how hard your pancreas is working. Eat a small handful as a replacement for crackers or cookies, turning a potential sugar spike into a stable, flat line. A proper portion is about a quarter cup, or 7 to 10 whole walnuts. Stick to raw or dry roasted varieties, completely avoiding honey roasted or candied options. Use them to swap out processed snacks, not in addition to them. Number 8 is eggs, specifically whole eggs including the yolk. For decades, we were falsely warned that the yolk was dangerous, driving people toward sugary breakfast cereals that ravaged their blood sugar. Let's correct the record. A whole egg consists of almost pure protein and healthy fat, with practically zero carbohydrates, meaning it barely impacts your blood sugar on its own. The true benefit lies in what researchers call the second meal effect. By starting your morning with eggs rather than toast or cereal, you stabilize your glucose not just during breakfast, but all the way until lunchtime. You approach your next meal with steady numbers and a reduced spike. The protein and fat also provide lasting satiety, eliminating the mid-morning sugar cravings. Swapping cereal for 2 or 3 whole eggs is one of the quickest ways to improve morning glucose readings in my practice. 2 or 3 whole eggs in the morning is a solid goal for most folks. Scramble them, hard-boil a batch for the week, or cook them with spinach. Top them with the avocado we discussed earlier, and you've created a nearly flawless blood sugar balancing breakfast. Number 9 is apple cider vinegar. Of everything on this list, this item shows the most immediate visible results on a glucose monitor. If you own a meter, you can actually observe it working tonight. The active component is acetic acid, which performs 2 simultaneous tasks. It slows gastric emptying, so carbs enter your bloodstream at a measured pace, and it prompts your muscles to extract glucose from your blood to burn as fuel. Within the first week, her fasting levels began to drop. After 3 months of collaborating with her physician, she completely discontinued her second medication, and her A1C shifted from diabetic levels back toward a normal range. 2 years later, those results remained stable. She didn't starve, she just ate more of the correct foods, and her body handled the rest. Let me summarize why these 10 foods succeed, where simply cutting carbs often fails. Each of these items effectively restores your insulin's functionality without leaving you hungry. The fibrous foods slow the glucose delivery, so your pancreas never enters panic mode. The fish, walnuts, and chia extinguish the inflammation that jams cellular signals. The cinnamon and vinegar directly assist the insulin receptor in gripping glucose once again. When you do this consistently, meal after meal, the stubborn cells that stopped answering the door gradually begin to open up on the very first knock. This is the true cellular definition of reversing insulin resistance. Once achieved, your body naturally regulates its own sugar, which is exactly why Donna maintained low numbers for 2 continuous years. Before I outline tonight's action plan, I must establish a firm boundary. If you currently take insulin or a sulfonylurea, an older class of blood sugar medication, incorporating these foods can drop your sugar so rapidly that your current medication dosage might become dangerously high, leading to hypoglycemia. Please introduce these foods under your doctor's supervision, allowing them to carefully taper your medication as your health improves. Do not abruptly stop any prescriptions on your own. Instead, bring this list to your next medical appointment. Here is exactly what you should do starting tonight, broken into 5 simple steps. 1. Tomorrow morning, swap out your cereal or toast for 2 to 3 whole eggs paired with half an avocado. This one adjustment will improve your blood sugar trajectory for the entire day. 2. Tonight, soak 1 teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in a glass of water and drink the mixture first thing when you wake up. 3. Purchase Ceylon cinnamon, avoiding cassia, and begin adding a 1/4 teaspoon daily to your coffee or morning oats. 4. About 15 minutes prior to your most carb-heavy meal tomorrow, mix 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar into a large glass of water and drink it. 5. This week, substitute white rice or potatoes for lentils at least twice, and incorporate fatty fish into your dinners for 2 nights. Layer these habits over the next 2 weeks. You aren't permanently banishing the foods you adore, you are strategically adding foods that shield your system. Finally, everything we discussed today addresses daytime and post-meal blood sugar. However, many of you experience a frustrating phenomenon. Your highest glucose reading happens first thing in the morning, before you've even taken a bite. You fast all night, yet your sugar spikes anyway. There is a distinct biological reason your liver does this overnight, and there is a method to halt it. I've created a follow-up video explaining exactly what happens while you sleep and how to wake up to better numbers. I'll link it right here on the screen. Go check that out next, and I'll see you there. Dr. Evelyn Ford.